All right. Well, thanks very much to all of you. Just an extraordinary evening and, of course, opening the door to the big question. If President Trump can truly solve this problem, that would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host, Jay, and this is The Objective. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the 45th episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. Each and every one of you that are here today, I want to thank you for your support. If you are a newcomer, I want to welcome you to the channel. I also want to encourage you that if you do appreciate and enjoy the content, that you like the video and subscribe. One more favor I have for you, and that is that you visit www.themaven.net/political storm. On that website, you will find my content, such as my articles. You'll find my podcast, but not only my content, you will find a myriad of different contributors who, come from different beliefs, different backgrounds, who hold different values and political affiliations. But each and every one of us, despite the differences that we have, we are all devoted to the same thing, and that is bringing discussion back to politics. Before we get into the news items for today, and for the sake of brevity, I will be quick here. From my last episode, some of you know that I was experiencing some knee issues. I was off work for 8 days because of it, and luckily, I shouldn't even say luckily, but fortunately, thankfully, I was able to head back to work, and I'm about 90% better now, maybe even 95. At the end of the day, it was close to 180 degrees from what I felt last week. The pain was excruciating. But anyways, I don't want to drag this on here. The point is, while I was going through this, while I was experiencing this, I actually came to the realization and was enlightened to something that I can apply to my daily life. And I'm hoping that when I share it with you, you're also able to apply it to your daily life. So this is what's interesting, folks. I did physio, I did some acupuncture, but the physio really helped out. There was a noticeable difference. The guy I went to, fantastic, just phenomenal. And one thing that he revealed to me, this is very important, folks. Listen to this. So when I was babying my knee and I was rubbing it with Voltaren, it's an anti-inflammatory cream. I was rubbing it and massaging it. I was doing acupuncture, and I realized after going to physio that, according to my physiotherapist, if there's an issue like a pinched nerve in your lower back, if the source of the pain is actually localized in your lower back, you can feel perceived pain. You can feel inflammation or the pain as a result of inflammation in your knee. That's a secondary pain. So sometimes, because let me tell you this, folks, when my knee was hurting, I didn't even notice any pain in my back, but it was only when the pain started to alleviate from my knee, that's when I started feeling it in my back. And that's when I realized that I was doing all of that rubbing and I was doing all of that, caring for my knee, not knowing that the actual source of my pain, the problem, was in my lower back. And you can invest a lot of time, you can invest a lot of money, you can invest a lot of time and resources into dealing with an issue that is not even the root cause of the ailment or the pain. When you think of doctors, for instance, doctors nowadays, they more so, and there are good doctors who have a more holistic approach, but doctors nowadays, it's like they medicate. That's what they do. They don't try to heal a root cause. They don't try to, heal or solve the root issue. They only deal with symptoms nowadays. And even in politics, we deal with symptoms. Even in just, everyday living, we deal with symptoms. For example, look at racism. Some groups, they invest so much time into dealing with this one little bit of just this one little issue that these people put so much time and effort and energy into stopping and fighting. And as a result of that, as a result of hyper focusing on racism, we lose sight of what the actual root is. And the root of racism is hatred. And hatred, everybody is plagued, unfortunately. Everybody has a propensity, I should say, to hate. And today or nowadays, people, they say, oh, well, a minority can't be racist. The only people that can be racist are white people. And when you do that, you ignore your own hatred. You ignore the hatred in your own heart, because you're saying, oh, no, we can't be racist. And then you scoff at, the words reverse racism, or you say, oh, that doesn't exist. You know what? I'll give that to you. It probably doesn't exist. But what I know exists, and what I know is the big kahuna, the big issue, the mother lode, hatred. That's what the issue is, the root cause. And it's about time that we start focusing on hatred, because hatred has no color. And that's the whole reason why I'm against social justice, because social justice is not justice. Justice does not need something to amplify it. Justice does not need something before it, a prefix, or, you know what I'm saying? Justice in and of itself is enough. Social justice takes into consideration color. It takes into consideration religion. It takes into consideration geography. It takes into consideration status and wage and all that stuff. That is not being unbiased. That is not being impartial. That's taking things that you cannot control and making it determine the outcome of how people are treated. I went on a whole tangent, folks. I apologize for that, but I hope it makes sense to you. The point is, it's this. I had pain in my back. I had an issue in my back, a pinched nerve, and the pain was actually being translated in my knee. And I wasn't able to tell the difference, but luckily there was someone who is a professional. There's someone who is trained and experienced in this sort of thing. And he had that knowledge to awake me to the fact that, the source of the pain is actually my lower back. So take what you can from that tornado of words. Okay, I apologize you if that was random, but just take what you can from that. It makes sense in my mind. I hope that I was able to articulate it properly. Anyways, folks, let's get into some news. In the morning now, when you wake up, this may be determined already, but the Democrat Connor Lamb has actually declared victory over Rick Saccone. Now, this is a special election in Pennsylvania. Now, folks, I did the mathematics. The last thing we know is that Lamb, and that's the Democrat Connor Lamb, he was at 113,111 votes. That's 49.8% of the vote. And Rick Saccone was at 112,532. Now, that's 49.6% of the vote. This is so close. It's kind of ridiculous to me. There is, so here's the caveat. There are these things called absentee votes. And I will, just so I don't go on another rant, I'm actually going to read to you, according to Wikipedia, what an absentee ballot is. An absentee ballot is a vote cast by someone who is unable or unwilling to attend the official polling station to which the voter is normally allocated. And another one says the voter may return the ballot in person or by mail. Some states will let voters apply for an absentee ballot in person before Election Day and then vote the ballot that same day. So there are about 3,000 absentee ballots that need to be counted and accounted for still. And these ballots are actually in Republican territory. So the difference between the numbers that I listed to you previously, the 113,000 and 112,000, there's a difference of 579 votes. Now, that may have changed by the time you see this. So we're all on the edge of our seats for this. But this was an extremely close race, folks. Extremely close. So I'll give some updates. I'll post some new content whenever I get updates on my Instagram. So be sure to follow me there. Paul Manafort facing over 3 centuries in jail. over 305 years in jail for the crimes that he's committed or accused of being guilty of. So we have stuff or charges such as, tax evasion, bank fraud, conspiracy, and a number of these nonviolent but financial crimes. The tally is 3 centuries in jail for Paul Manafort. And it's only fair to question the judgment. And, I question the judgment of the president when it comes to people like Omarosa, Steve Bannon. They're people who have caused issues and uproar in the White House, who I feel should not have even been there. But at the end of the day, it's easy to cast judgment. It's easy to condemn when you're on the outside. And a lot of people are, of the opinion that the White House is in disarray, because the next part of news here is that Rex Tillerson is actually outed. He's no longer the Secretary of State. Okay. He's been replaced by Mike Pompeo. And a lot of people, some of my friends actually, and close colleagues that I usually discuss and debate politics with, some of them are saying, the White House is in disarray. Look at that high turnover rate. That could only mean one thing. It's chaos, and it's easy to say that, not being or knowing the inner workings or the fabric of the White House. It's hard to defend a stable White House when there is such a high turnover rate. But one thing that, is indicative of a degree of, what's the word I'm looking for, adhesiveness within the White House is, the policy and the successes that, have come out of the White House as a result of this administration. Yes, there's a high turnover rate, but, when you look at Rob Porter, when you look at Omarosa, when you look at, like I said, Steve Bannon or, Sean Spicer, these people fulfill their duties. I'm still trying to figure out what Omarosa's duties were, but yeah. So I'm about 15 minutes right now, guys. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode, the 45th episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I want to remind you to make it your goal as you go through this week, as you go through the weekend. Make it your goal to be objective. You will see news come. You will see news go. You will observe the news cycle 24/7. You will see spins on both sides of the political spectrum of a certain story. But what I want you to do, I want you to be intellectually honest. I want you to look at everything and observe everything with a watchful and with an objective eye. Do your research. Do your reading. Do not take what is given to you. Don't even take what I'm giving to you as gospel. What I want to do is I want to be an arbiter of truth. I want to be someone who can lead you to, challenge yourself and challenge your narrative. And I invite each and every one of you to do the same for me and hold me accountable. And that's all that I want to do with this channel. It's all that I want to do with my podcast. And I believe that we can make a great impact, and we can contribute something positive and uplifting and constructive to this very divisive, hostile environment that North American politics finds itself in. So thanks again for checking out the 45th episode. Make it your goal to be objective. Have a good night.